Three things I love about filet of beef with mustard horseradish sauce are: filet beef may be a little expensive to buy, but it's so easy to prep, I don't mind. The second thing is the sauce is like 5 ingredients whisked together in a dish. That's it. And the third one is that I have this great system so the filet beef comes out perfectly roasted every time. Let's go make it. So let's roast a filet. So I know this looks a little daunting, but it's not, trust me. So I asked the butcher to trim and tie it. So trimming is taking off all the fat, and then that little layer of silver that's sometimes on it, taking that off too. And then tying it so it's nice and round, and sometimes there's like this little end, help tie it under. And the point of tying it like these little strings is to make sure that it's very even. So the beginning, the middle, and the end all cook at exactly the same time. So it's gonna be perfect. So that's the filet, and I'm gonna just dry the outside. And the point of this is so the butter that I'm gonna put on the outside sticks to it. That's the drying. So 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter. You want it to be really soft. And then I just do it with my hands, just slather it on the outside. And the point of this is to keep the meat really moist. Also, then the salt and pepper that I'm gonna add is gonna stick to it. I actually did this with Jay Leno once a long time ago on TV. I had him rubbing butter on a filet of beef. If he can't make a joke out of that, he doesn't deserve to be a comic. It was really fun. Okay, so I'm gonna just rub this all on the outside. Get butter all evenly all over it. Good and messy. Tablespoon of salt. I know it's a lot, but you really want, you've got a whole filet of beef to season. You wanna make sure it's really well seasoned. And a tablespoon of pepper. Slippery hands. This is such a great dish for a holiday. It's not really Tuesday night dinner, but it's for a holiday or for a special event. It's so easy to do, and people are so impressed that you can make a whole filet of beef. Okay, I'm just gonna wash my hands. Into the oven, 500 degrees. It's really hot. Make sure your oven's very clean, otherwise it'll smoke. For 22 minutes for rare, but I like it medium rare, so I'm gonna do it for 25 minutes. And it comes out perfectly every time. Next, mustard horseradish sauce. Oof, say that 10 times fast. Okay, so first I need 1½ cups of mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is a great base for sauce. The key is that it doesn't taste like mayonnaise. When I have the store, I would make all these like chicken salad with mayonnaise, but I'd add white wine or mustard or something to take away that kind of distinctive mayonnaise flavor. 3 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. And then, because I want it to look like mustard and taste like mustard, 1½ tablespoons of coarse grain mustard. And then you see the grains of mustard and that kind of little bite of mustard, which is great. Tablespoon of horseradish, not too much because it's really sharp. And 1/3 cup of sour cream. So the mayonnaise and sour cream together kind of like mask the fact that you started with mayonnaise. That should be about 1/3 cup. And salt. And just whisk it all together. So you've got a really great high-low thing, really fancy filet of beef, and a sauce that you made from ingredients in your pantry. You almost didn't even have to shop for them. I'm just gonna put this in a bowl. Maybe a simple sauce, but you put it in a fancy bowl, it looks fancy. I actually collect these hotel silver bowls. They're really great. It's kind of not your mother's fancy silver. It's like silver that hotels used to use, so it has that patina. I love it. And that's the sauce. Okay, the beef's almost done. I'm gonna take it out to rest, and then we're gonna go to the garden. So I'll take the filet out. Boy, does that look good. I'll cover it in foil and let it rest while I head outside. So you wanna come see the garden? I've just recently redone it. I mean, the truth is, I'm always redoing it. But instead of adding things, I seem to be taking things away. So make it simpler and simpler. So I've got big boxwood. Well, they used to be boxwood, now ilex hedges, big squares, willows in the 4 corners. Aren't they crazy? I love the willows. I think they're really fun. And this is nepeta. No, it's not nepeta, actually. It's calamintha. It's nepeta in the spring, but calamintha later. Beautiful big white flowers. And I love the geraniums. Aren't they crazy? They just get bigger and bigger and bigger, all purple. But it's really simple. It's not complicated, right? And then over here, I've got all kinds of cutting flowers and vegetables. Got white zinnias, a riot of zinnias. Of course, I only use the white ones. Lots of butterflies. And this is the craziest thing. It's the biggest basil I've ever seen in my life. I think it's time to make pesto? I would say so. That's crazy. It's almost as big as me. But I need parsley. I think it'd be really nice on the platter. So, like a big bunch of parsley with a filet of beef. That'll be really great. I've got celery root here. This looks pretty good, doesn't it? Celery root. Okay, let's go back to the filet of beef. I'm gonna show you how to carve a filet of beef, and trust me, it's so much easier than like a standing rib roast. Okay, so I think it should be perfect. It's been resting. Now, how gorgeous is that? So I'm gonna put it on the board. And the first thing I need to do, it's still really hot. It's amazing how hot it stays under that foil. First thing I need to do is get rid of all the strings. Nobody wants to eat string. So I'm just gonna take each string off. First time I ever had a whole filet of beef was at a friend's house in Washington in the 70s. Jeffrey and I were invited to somebody's house for dinner. It was a single guy was making dinner. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be really bad. And it was the days when I was making like Julia Child's recipes, really fancy French things. I was teaching myself how to cook. And I said to Jeffrey, we should probably eat something before we go to this guy's house, because I thought it was gonna be terrible. And when we got there, he had roasted an entire filet of beef, which I thought was so elegant, I couldn't believe it. He baked his own bread. And he'd made something like chocolate mousse for dessert. It was just stunning, absolutely stunning. And after that, I actually decided that my cooking should be simpler, that it shouldn't be so sort of French and fancy. It should be really elegant and really simple. I wonder if he knows how much of an influence he had on me, all the way from the 70s. And one thing about having a filet of beef in your repertoire is you can always make it with lots of different sauces, and you've got something totally different. So this is with mustard and horseradish sauce, but I make it with a blue cheese sauce by just boiling heavy cream and adding blue cheese to it, which is so good. I sometimes do it with a basil parmesan mayonnaise. So it's like a summer dish or a winter dish. One filet of beef, lots of different ways. Okay. So this is done. Just takes a second, but it's really important to take the string off. And then I'll show you how you slice it. And this is the moment. I always think, I hope it's perfect. And the good news is, it always is. So I like sort of thicker slices, and each person gets 2 slices. So, wow. Now tell me that isn't perfectly cooked filet of beef. So when I put it on the platter, I actually slice most of it, but not the whole thing. I think it looks nicer to have a big piece at the end. You can always slice more. One filet of beef will serve like 10 people. That's why it's great for parties or for holidays. And if there are leftovers, you can make little sandwiches the next day. Very elegant sandwiches. I'm just using a small, sharp slicing knife. To really just make sure it's sharp and get nice slices. Okay, so onto a platter. I've got a big, long, narrow platter, which is perfect. I'm gonna put the big piece on the back, just like that, and then try as much as I can to put this right next to it. Yay, I did it. And then some parsley, just to make it look better. Always looks better with something green on the plate. Just right down here. And mustard horseradish sauce, it's great together. And happily, there's always a little bit of filet beef left over for whoever carved it, me. It's so tender and so flavorful. It's really great. And that's roast filet beef. That's pretty easy, right? And the mustard horseradish sauce, even easier. Your friends are gonna be completely knocked out. This recipe and more can be found in my book, Barefoot Contessa Parties,